Hello dear students. So in the last class we have studied about the methods of preparation of haloalkanes. In today's class we will see the physical and chemical properties of haloalkanes. Most of the halogenated compounds, alkyl halides, are colorless in the pure state. If you take an example of methyl bromide or bromomethane CH3Br, this is a colorless gas at a room temperature, which is used as a pesticide. It is used in as an industrial fire extinguishing agent, and this is a ozone depleting chemical also. Alkyl halides like alkyl bromide and alkyl iodide are colorless in the pure state, but when they get exposed to the sunlight, they develop the color. This is how they are developing the color. If you take another example of ethyl bromide, which turns to yellowish color on exposure to the air, and this such alkyl halides which are volatile are having sweet smell. Now we'll see the physical state of different alkyl halides. The lower members like methyl chloride, methyl bromide, ethyl chloride, chlorofluorocarbons are existing in the gaseous state. So these are the compounds which are existing in the gaseous state, whereas higher alkyl halides up to 18 carbon atoms, they are existing in the liquid state, and whereas the other alkyl halides are existing in the higher alkyl halides are existing in the solid state. We know that in haloalkanes, the halogen being more electronegative, it withdraws electrons on itself, and because of which it develops partial negative charge, whereas carbon gets the partial positive charge. And because of this nature, the molecule is said to be polar. And because of this polar nature, many properties are dependent. In case of alkanes, you can observe that there is no polarity in the alkanes. There is no much electronegativity difference between carbon and hydrogen, so they are not considered as polar. They are non-polar substances, whereas haloalkanes are having polarity. And alkanes and haloalkanes, when you compare, haloalkanes are having higher molecular mass compared to the alkanes because of the presence of halogen atom. And here, as molecular mass increases, the van der Waals force also increases, and because of which they are having higher boiling point. So the one reason why haloalkanes are having more boiling point than that of alkanes is because of the strong van der Waals forces. This is one reason. And another reason is another force of attraction is present in haloalkanes, and that is because of the polar nature, and that is dipole-dipole interaction. So the two intermolecular forces, stronger intermolecular forces are exerted in haloalkanes, that is strong van der Waals force and the dipole-dipole interaction. Because of these two stronger intermolecular force of attraction, these are having higher boiling point than that of the alkanes of comparable molecular mass. And if you keep the alkyl group constant, and if you change the halogen atoms like this, if you compare the order of boiling point of different alkyl halides, that is alkyl iodide, then alkyl bromide, so as you move along the down the group, that is from halogen towards the iodine, the atomic size is increasing. So atomic size increases, and also the atomic weight also increases. So along down the group, that is towards the iodine, the atomic mass is increasing. So as atomic mass increases, the molecular mass of the compounds also increases. And when you see the boiling point variation, you can observe that the boiling point is also increasing along, that is down the group, that is towards iodides. There is an increase in the boiling point, and that is because of increase in the molecular masses, due to which the van der Waals force increases. So that is alkyl iodide is having more boiling point, highest boiling point, whereas alkyl fluorides are having lowest boiling point. Here is a list of some of the alkyl halides where you can observe that the number of carbon atoms in the alkyl group is increasing. See, here you have only one carbon, CH3 methyl group, ethyl, propyl, butyl. So if this is the case, we have kept the halogen constant, we have changed the alkyl group. So what happens to the boiling point? So the boiling point along the, that is as the carbon chain length increases, alkyl group increases, the boiling point is also increasing. The boiling point increases with increase in the number of carbon atoms in the chain, and that is again because of the increase in the van der Waals forces. So as the size increases, van der Waals force also increases, so that's why the boiling point is increasing. Now if we see this example, that is where we are having branches in the carbon skeleton. See, in the first case we have it's N-butyl chloride. It's a N-butyl chloride where 4 carbon atoms are arranged in a straight chain. In second example we have isobutyl chloride where 1 carbon is in the branch, and here it is tertiary butyl chloride where we have 3 carbon atoms. 2 as a branch. So in this case we have 2 carbon atoms in the branch. So as we are introducing the branches, what is happening with their boiling point? Look at the values, the boiling point is decreasing. So why there is a decrease in the, as you move from that, as you increase the branches, the boiling point is decreasing, and this is because of the reduction in the surface area of that particular carbon skeleton. Because of the reduction in the surface area, they are having spherical shape. So as the surface area decreases, the van der Waals force decreases, so the boiling point is reducing as the branches are introduced. So what is the effect of branching on the boiling point? As the branches increases, the boiling point is reducing. The next point is the solubility of haloalkanes in water. Whether these haloalkanes are soluble in water? No, they are not really soluble in water. They are slightly soluble in water. They are very slightly soluble, or you can consider they are insoluble in water. So why they are insoluble in water? They are polar. So being a polar compound, it has to dissolve in the water, right? So polar solvents dissolve in polar substances dissolve in polar solvent, but here they are polar but they are not soluble in water. The reason is, here it has to show the solubility in water, the haloalkanes, whatever the haloalkanes are having the force of interaction between them, these have to cleave. We have to break this force of attraction, and then the energy released will be utilized for the breaking of the hydrogen bond existing in the water molecule. So by the breaking of the bonds between haloalkanes, then it has to interact with the water molecule in this way, so that the new interaction has to set in between the alkyl halide and the water molecule. In this manner, there should be a new interaction. That is, this is a new interaction you can observe between water molecule and between the alkyl halide. To have this particular interaction, the energy is not sufficiently supplied. So whatever the new interaction is created, it is not so favorable, because whatever the bonding is, the interaction is present in the water, it is very strong bond, and this interaction is very weak. So because of which it is not soluble so easily in the water. So alkyl halides are less soluble in water. To have the solubility, the attraction should be stronger between the alkyl halide and the water. Whereas if you consider the organic solvents, if you consider, they are having a very good interaction with the organic solvent, because whatever the interaction is present only in case of pure haloalkanes, the same type of interaction is present in the solvent molecule also. And when they set up the new interaction between haloalkane and the solvent, that new interaction is also of the same type. It is favorable condition. The energy required is sufficient for this interaction. That's why haloalkanes are less soluble in water, whereas they are soluble in organic solvents like alcohol, ether, carbon tetrachloride, etc. Next physical property is density. So alkyl fluorides or alkyl chlorides are, they are less denser than water. So if this is the water, they are less denser than water, so that layer is appearing here. That is, alkyl fluorides or chlorides are less denser than water, whereas alkyl bromides and alkyl iodides are more denser than water. That's why they are occupying this portion. As they are more denser than water, alkyl bromides and alkyl iodides get settled down, whereas water is up. So that is, it is less denser. Okay, so that is about the density. And as the number of halogen atom increases, as you increase the number of halogen atoms in the polyhalogenated compounds, as you increase the number of halogen atoms, the density is also increasing. Then here one question comes, that is, arrange the following compounds in the increasing order of their boiling point. See, 1-chloropropane, isopropyl chloride, 1-chlorobutane are the given questions. So first you have to write down the structure of these compounds. So these are the structures for 1-chloropropane, isopropyl chloride and 1-chlorobutane. And here you can observe that you have to arrange them in the increasing order of their boiling point. So how the boiling point varies? Increasing order means you have to arrange them from lower to higher. So which is having least boiling point? First see the number of carbon atoms present in the skeleton. See, in 1-chloropropane we have 3 carbon atoms in a chain, whereas in isopropyl chloride we have 2 carbon atoms in a parent chain. In case of 1-chlorobutane you have 4 carbon atoms in a straight chain. So that means this is your longest chain which occupies more surface area. So this is having more force of attraction, more van der Waals force is present in case of 1-chlorobutane. So this should have highest boiling point. When you compare 1-chloropropane and isopropyl chloride, among them 1-chloropropane is having more than that of isopropyl chloride, because in isopropyl chloride there is a branch, so surface area reduces compared to this straight chain. That's why isopropyl chloride is having least boiling point than that of 1-chloropropane. So this is how the arrangement is. Isopropyl chloride is having lowest boiling point, then comes 1-chloropropane, then the 1-chlorobutane. Now we'll move to the types of chemical reactions which alkyl halides undergo. The alkyl halides or haloalkanes undergo basically 3 types of reactions. First one is nucleophilic substitution reaction. Second one is elimination reaction. Third one is reaction with metals. So one by one we'll deal with these. The first one is nucleophilic substitution reaction. So before going to the reaction, what is nucleophile? So what are nucleophiles? Nucleophiles are the electron rich species. The word itself is nucleophile. Electron, this is nucleus seeking, that is, it is having unshared pair of electron, it is having excess of electron, so it can donate the electron pair, because of which it is acting as a Lewis base. Okay, and examples are halide ions, that is Cl minus, Br minus, I minus. These are acting as nucleophiles. Or there are some neutral molecules which are having excess of electron, they are also acting as a nucleophile, like water, ammonia, amines, etc. Okay, so the nucleophiles are electron rich centers basically. Now The first type of reaction which haloalkanes undergoes is nucleophilic substitution reaction. So what is this nucleophilic substitution reaction? A nucleophile substitutes for a halogen atom in an alkyl halide. See, as we know, halide ion is also a nucleophile. X minus is also a nucleophile. So one nucleophile, you can see here, this is a nucleophile. In pink, whatever I have shown, that is the nucleophile. So this nucleophile, one nucleophile is substituting. It replaces the halogen atom in the haloalkane. See, if I take this as R, this is your alkyl group and this is your halogen, which is in the green. So when there is an interaction, when you put the nucleophile reagent which contains the nucleophile with the Rx, the halogen atom, the bond between alkyl and the halogen atom, this bond will be cleaved, and there in that place the nucleophile comes. So there is a cleavage of this bond and there is a formation of new bond with this nucleophile. That is called as nucleophilic substitution reaction. Okay, so the new bond is formed between the alkyl group and the nucleophile, right? So when alkyl halide is treated with a nucleophile, there is a formation of a new bond between alkyl group and the nucleophile. Such compounds are formed. So the general reaction for the nucleophilic substitution reaction can be given like this. The nucleophile reacts with alkyl halide, which is being polar, attacked by the nucleophile. So X goes out as X minus, which is considered as a living group. It is considered as the living group. Okay, so as alkyl group is electron deficient, it forms a carbocation. It's a carbocation which is attacked by the electron rich nucleophile. So this type of new compounds are formed. Now we'll see some examples for this. That is, as in this particular in this substitution reaction, the nucleophile initiates the reaction. That's why this is called as nucleophilic substitution reaction. Okay, now we'll see some examples for this nucleophilic substitution reactions where I'll take different nucleophiles. So the first nucleophile I'm taking here is OH minus. So the first one is OH minus, hydroxide ion, hydroxyl ion. So whenever alkyl halide is treated with OH minus, there is a replacement of X by OH. So there is a formation of which compound? Alcohol, ROH. New bond is formed between alkyl group and OH. So alcohols are formed leaving behind the X minus. So to have this OH minus as a nucleophile, which reagents we are using to have this as a nucleophile? We can use sodium hydroxide, we can use potassium hydroxide, or we can also use silver oxide. Moist silver oxide can be used, which are releasing OH minus, and that reacts with alkyl chloride to form alcohol. Similarly, water is also a very good nucleophile, as oxygen contains lone pair of electron. This attacks the carbon bearing positive charge and forms again the alcohol. So the first nucleophile is hydroxide ion and second one is water, which are resulting in the formation of alcohol. Then the next one is ammonia. So if I take here ammonia, which is having nitrogen, in which nitrogen is having lone pair of electrons, so because of which it acts as a nucleophile. So ammonia, as it is having lone pair of electron, acts as a nucleophile and attacks the alkyl group, and there is a formation of primary amine. RNH2 is formed. One of the hydrogen combines with X and goes out as HX. Okay, similarly, if excess of alkyl halide is present, then further the reaction continues and all the hydrogens of amine are replaced by alkyl group, which results in the formation of primary, secondary, tertiary amines. Okay, this reaction you are studying again in detail in the next coming chapters. The next nucleophile is alkox, sodium and potassium salts of alkoxide. That is, this is sodium alkoxide. Here, the next one is alkoxide nucleophile. Here the compound taken is sodium alkoxide. So here alkoxide is OR minus. This part is the alkoxide nucleophile, which replaces the X minus. So when it attacks here, there is a formation of a bond between R, O, R dash. So this is called as ether. Okay, so X combines with Na to form NaX, which is a byproduct. So alkoxide ions, nucleophiles reacts with alkyl halide to form ether. Similarly, the next is when alkyl halide reacts with the carboxylate ions, metal carboxylates. So this metal may be anything. It may be sodium, potassium, it may be cadmium, it may be calcium, it may be silver. So ಯಾವುದಾದರೂ ತಗೋಬಹುದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ. So RCOO minus, this part will be acting as a nucleophile. So this goes and attacks the carbon bearing positive charge, and here there is a formation of a bond between RCOO R dash. So this esters are formed. So X combines with Na to form a NaX salt. So esters are formed by the action of metal carboxylates with the alkyl halide. Here the nucleophile is carboxylate anion. Okay, so this carboxylate anion is acting as a, this part acts as a nucleophile which substitutes the X to form esters. Then the next is reaction with iodides, that is sodium iodide is the reagent taken. Here I minus is the nucleophile which replaces the X minus. So there is a formation of alkyl iodide and NaX. Then next is the next nucleophile is hydride. H minus is called as hydride, which is released in the reagents like lithium aluminium hydride, which is a reducing agent also. It reacts with alkyl halide to form hydrocarbon. See here, this X is replaced by H minus. This is a nucleophile. So this comes here in place of X. So there is a formation of hydrocarbon and you are getting the byproducts. So alkyl halide is reduced to hydrocarbon by the treatment of lithium aluminium hydride. There are certain nucleophiles. There are some nucleophiles which are called as ambidentate nucleophiles. So ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಏನು ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ they were giving a lone pair of electron. One pair of electron was given to form a bond. But there are some nucleophiles which are having two donor sites like this. These are called as ambidentate nucleophiles. So what are ambidentate nucleophiles? Ambidentate nucleophiles are containing two nucleophilic centers. That means they can attack from two different sites. Okay, so example, the first example I'll take here is cyanide ion, which is represented like this. Okay, Cn minus anteli bariತೀವಿ cyanide ion. So in this Cn minus, carbon and nitrogen are triply bonded, and this carbon and nitrogen both are having capacity to donate the electron. So you can show the linkage through carbon or through the nitrogen. So whenever it is linked through carbon, the products are called as alkyl cyanides. Whenever it is linked through the carbon, they are called as alkyl cyanides, whereas if it is connected through nitrogen, then they are called as alkyl isocyanides. Okay, so this is an example for ambidentate nucleophile where we have two donor sites. Okay, so if it donates through carbon, the formed compounds are alkyl cyanides. If it donates through nitrogen, the formed compounds are alkyl isocyanides. Another example is nitrite. So NO2 minus is a nitrite ion which is used as a nucleophile, and here again we have two donor sites, nitrogen and oxygen. So if it is through nitrogen, the compounds are called as nitroalkane. If it is through oxygen, then the compounds are called as alkyl nitrites. Here Through nitrogen, you can take an example of KNO2 is a reagent which releases nitrite ion and forms nitroalkane. As this KNO2 is an ionic compound, it breaks completely and through nitrogen the bond is formed. Whereas if you take AgNO2, silver nitride, the linkage is through oxygen, as this is a covalent compound. It is not cleaved, separated as ion. So whole it attacks the alkyl group through oxygen and there is a formation of alkyl nitrides. Okay, so nitrides are given from these two reagents where KNO2 is ionic. Being ionic, it releases NO2 group which attacks the alkyl group to form nitroalkane, whereas AgNO2 results in the formation of alkyl nitrides. Similarly, here one question is there. See, what happens when methyl chloride is treated with KCl? See, methyl chloride is CH3Cl, KCl is this. So what happens? There is a formation of here the nucleophile substitutes the another nucleophile. So Cl is replaced by Cl. So we are getting methyl cyanide and KCl. So how the reaction takes place? See, as in KCN is an ionic bond. The bond is cleaved completely and it separates as K plus and Cn minus, and this Cn minus goes and attacks the methyl group which is electron deficient. Cl goes out as Cl minus. So here the bonding between, so carbon as Cn gets separated as an ion, both carbon and nitrogen are available for bonding. Here the bond between carbon and carbon is more stronger, that's why the cyanide is formed as a major product. Rather than carbon and nitrogen bond, the CC bond is more stronger, that's why methyl cyanide is formed, not the methyl isocyanide. So KCN on reaction with CH3Cl results in the formation of CH3Cn. So CC bond is more stronger. So what happens if to get the methyl, what we have to do to get the methyl isocyanide? We are taking AgCN. So this AgCN is a covalent compound. So as it is a covalent compound, it is not separated as Ag plus and Cn minus. So now here in AgCN only one site is free for the donation, and that is your nitrogen. So through nitrogen only it has to give electrons to the electron deficient methyl group. So always there is a formation of isocyanide itself. So CH3NC is formed as a major product. Methyl isocyanide is formed as a major product on reaction of CH3Cl with AgCN, where Cn replaces Cl through nitrogen linkage. It forms isocyanide and Ag combines with Cl to form AgCl. So this is about the nucleophilic substitution reactions, examples of nucleophilic substitution reactions. In next class, we'll deal with the mechanism of these substitution reactions. Thank you.